With that, my friends, we are live. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to get us kicked off while we have our students trickling in today. So I'm going to just take over your screen share briefly. I promise I will give it right back to you. Let me see. So first off, of course, welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for Pennsylvania Students, sponsored by the Pennsylvania Association for College Admission Counseling and StriveScan. Thanks for joining. Very brief housekeeping before we get started. Please feel free to use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and your microphone are off, so our panelists cannot see or hear you. This is one of our many different sessions happening. We would love to encourage you to come back, check out the full schedule, and you can see that at pacac.org. And this presentation is being recorded, and it will be available within about a week at that same website, pacac.org. And with that, it is my pleasure to go ahead and turn this over to our presenters. And there's my dog, sorry.
All right. I hope everyone can see my screen. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our panel today. We have a couple colleges here to kind of talk about the transfer process and how easy it can be. And believe it or not, there are quite a few transfer students. So we're quickly going to introduce ourselves, let you know who we are and where we come from. My name is Megan Jaklinski. I work in the admissions office at Northampton Community College.
I'll jump in alphabetically since it's the first on the screen there. I'm Darian Ryan. I'm the transfer admissions counselor over at Arcadia University.
Christian, you're muted.
Sorry about that. My name is Christian Zimmerman. I'm the Pennsylvania admissions counselor for Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island.
I'm Jim Garraway from Kutztown University in Kutztown, Pennsylvania.
I believe I am up next. My name is Michelle Palmisano, and I am the Assistant Director of Advising and Transfer Services at Northampton Community College.
Hi, everybody. I'm Stacy Carpenter. I'm from Muhlenberg College in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I'm a Senior Assistant Director of Admissions there.
Hi, everybody. My name is Erica Mundock, and I'm the Transfer Director at Moravian College in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Is it okay, Megan, if I jump in?
I think so. So we're going to get started today. We have just a couple of topics to cover. Some things like transfer students by the numbers, misconceptions of transfer students, what classes to take at a community college if you're getting ready to transfer. So you're going to hear from a bunch of our experts today. And if you do have questions, like was said before, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Go ahead and get started.
All right, guys. So again, I'm Darian from Arcadia, and I'm going to start out by saying that when we're talking about transferring, what we're talking about specifically in this presentation is what we call a 2-year to 4-year school model. That means that you'd be starting at a community college or a 2-year school and then transferring or moving on to a 4-year institution to complete your bachelor's degree. So today's panel presentation is going to tell you a little bit about how community college to 4-year school model is beneficial to you as a student and can actually set you up for great success on your academic journey. So I know the first thing that a lot of people think are, is it okay to be a transfer student? Am I going to be the only one who chooses this route? So I wanted to give some perspective on the numbers for you to think about as you kind of throw around the possibility of maybe taking the transfer pathway, the road less traveled. So 39% of all students who go to college choose to transfer at least once during their undergraduate careers. That's 1 in every 3 students. Of those students who choose to transfer, nearly half of these students will transfer a second time during the course of their college careers, maybe looking for a better fit at their 4-year institution. Needless to say, those are some pretty significant numbers. And more importantly, when we're talking about a community college to a 4-year school model, you should know that almost 10 million students were enrolled at community college at some point in the last couple of years. And research shows that among all students who complete a degree at a 4-year college, 49% had enrolled at a 2-year college at some point in the previous 10 years. So you're talking about almost half of all undergraduates in the United States having a background at one point at a 2-year school. And hopefully you're getting a sense that you're not going to be alone if you choose to go to a lovely community college like Northampton here, who's on our panel. And notably, research does show that students who complete a 2-year associate's degree at a community college are more likely to earn a bachelor's degree than students who transfer without one to a 4-year institution. Now we know, of course, with current trends in enrollment, the number of students that are going to community college is rising, especially due to the influence of COVID. We want to talk about things that are timely and relevant. Many students are looking, because of the pandemic, to stay closer to home or to start locally while things are uncertain. And we know that you're trying to navigate a landscape that's quickly changing, and that's okay. As you'll hear in today's panel, if you're proactive and smart about the kind of choices that you make while you're at community college, you'll have a painless transfer experience. Many schools, including Arcadia, do have partnership agreements with community colleges to help smooth that transfer process, and we'll be discussing those type of agreements shortly. You may also wonder, in terms of numbers, am I going to be the only transfer student when I get to my next university? Absolutely not. For perspective, again, from my home institution, at Arcadia, about 15 to 20% of our incoming class each year is comprised of transfer students, the majority of whom started at community college. So rest assured that you're going to have a cohort of classmates that share your experiences, and I'm sure that my colleagues here on the panel can confirm the same for their institutions, and we're going to talk a little bit later about getting involved and things that you can do once you get to your 4-year institution. So to boil it all down, transfer is trendy, and we will hopefully be giving you the tools to make you a transfer rock star during this presentation. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleagues and Stacy specifically to kind of talk about navigating the transfer search process.
Thanks, Darian. Yeah, so we really want to help you guys understand just, what this transfer process could look like. How do you find 4-year institutions, depending on what your interests are, whether you're hoping to go far away from home or you're hoping for an easy pathway, like Darian mentioned with articulation agreements and other programs that you're able to connect with colleges. So I think, the first thing I want to say to all students, happy National Transfer Student Week. That's this week. So I just wanted to say welcome and happy National Transfer Student Week. But first thing I want to share, just in general, every school is very different, whether it's what they're looking for in a student, what their community is like, and everything like that. So what I would say is look at schools based off what your hopes are for the rest of your college experience. So if you're a person who, you are wanting to stay close to home, look at those schools that are close to home. If you're looking for a specific program, start looking at colleges who may have that program as well, so that hopefully you can then prepare yourself at the community college to take the classes that you need so that it's an easy transfer, going on to your 4-year institution. In general, I would just say, let colleges know that you're interested in their school and that you're, interested in learning more about their programs. If we're looking at seniors in high school and high school students, a lot of the times, if you guys have taken the SAT and the ACT, you check off a little box that says, yes, you can send my information to 4-year institutions and other colleges as well, so that they can reach out to me and send me more information. On the college side of things, if you're a student who either goes to a community college or even a 4-year student transferring to another 4-year institution, we don't necessarily have those names that we already have in our system. We're looking for you guys to reach out to us so that we can get in contact with you. So ways to do that, most colleges have an inquiry form that you can fill out to request more information. That way you get into that 4-year college's system. They can start sending you information about their college, what programs they have, and you can get connected with them right away. If you're not sure where that inquiry form is, you can always just email or call the admissions office and say, hey, can you add me to your mailing list? I'm interested in learning more about your college. So we highly recommend doing that, even as you're starting your journey in community college, so that you can start researching those 4 years that you're hoping to end up at later on after your 2 years at the community college. If you're not sure where to start, because it is a daunting process, right? Finding a college, finding what fits for you, just ask your advisor. That's what your advisors are there for. They're there to help you, or asking friends who may be transferred from your institution to another 4-year, just to see what their process is like. People are there to help, but also asking those, admissions counselors, if you know a specific 4-year institution. I'll use my college, for example, say, hey, I'm at a Northampton Community College student and I want to go to Muhlenberg afterwards. Get connected with us. We want to get to chat with you guys and get to learn more about you and share more information about the college too. But after you build your college list and think about, okay, what colleges do I want to go to? If I want to stay local, do I want to go to a large institution? Do I want to stay at a small school? Whatever it may be, once you have that list of colleges, getting connected with those colleges is super important, because then we know you're interested. We can share more information about our colleges with you all, and then helping you, kind of continue that journey throughout your time in college as well. I'd also say, find who your person is, I think, at the college as well. So some colleges have transfer specific admissions counselors and others are general. So for example, here at Muhlenberg, I work with transfer students, but I also work with a first year population. So I'm not specifically just to transfer students, but we do have, at other institutions, I know some of my colleagues work specifically with transfer students. So get connected with the people who work with transfer students and to ask any questions that you have or to gain more information that you're looking for. Other things I think just to know, each college has their own different application process. Some have a specific, articulation agreement. Some schools you do have to apply. Some have the Common App for transfers. So just finding out what that application process will look like and what they're requiring. You can do that, even if you're a year out or even, 2 years out, if you're, really eager just to learn more and just to kind of explore colleges, just to see what those requirements are, whether it's letters of recommendation, starting to think about transcripts if the college requires a high school transcript in addition to your college transcript or whatever it may be. Interviews sometimes I know for us are required, at other places may be optional. That might be an opportunity too. So just really finding what those application processes look like at each institution, because they can vary from place to place. So starting to build yourself kind of, I would say, an Excel sheet or even just a comparison list, knowing what you need for each institution that you're planning to apply to will be helpful. I think the other thing too is to visit, and obviously in this climate can be in a different way. It can be either virtually or in-person opportunities as well, because you want to get to know the college itself and what that community looks like. And I know my colleagues will talk a little bit more about getting involved once you're on that four-year college campus, but just getting to know what the student body is like, getting to know what's important to the college, and see if those values really match with your own. That's super important to check out as a student as well. And like I mentioned, let the colleges know you're interested. That way, like I said, we can get connected with you. And also showing your interest is a good thing. I know at Muhlenberg, we are a small school that really prides ourselves on our community, and we want students who want to be at Muhlenberg. So we definitely want to see that through our transfer population as well. And I'm sure all of my other colleagues, would probably agree with me on that as well. And then I'd recommend connecting, with current students too, whether you know a current student, maybe you have friends from your community college who went to that four-year institution, or maybe, just if you happen to know somebody who goes there, connecting with them and talking to them about their experiences is super important. Or if you don't know, a person who had gone to that institution, ask the admissions office, hey, can I connect with a student who transferred to your college so I can learn more about the transfer transition process? Or can I talk to a student who is involved in your business program? I'm interested in studying business as well, and I'd like to learn more about the program from a student perspective. So getting connected with students, and I know that they're really eager to chat with prospective students and prospective transfer students as well. So getting connected with those students is super important. And then I think just to wrap it up for me is just ask questions if you have any, whether it's of your transfer advisor at the community college or even the transfer admissions counselor at the four-year institutions. If you have specific questions about programs or majors or student life, or just generally about the transfer process application requirements, just ask those questions. I think all of us can agree that we are in this profession because we enjoy helping people, and we are people who just want to help each other through this process, because we know it is definitely challenging, and then having to apply essentially 2 times for transfer students sometimes that is can be a little daunting. And so we just are here to help you guys out, so just know that. So that's kind of just the general gist of just kind of navigating that transfer and application process. I'm going to pass it over to Michelle and Megan to talk a little bit more about the community college level things before you transfer to your four-year institution, what classes to take, and just kind of general, information about transfer students.
All right, so Megan, do you want to start and talk a little bit about the admissions side, since that sort of happens systematically, and I'll go second?
Absolutely. So I'll talk briefly
Perfect.
about the admission side, at least from a community college standpoint. So we do try to make it as simple as possible. I'm sorry, I'm a little dark here. So if you're looking at Northampton or really any community college, we want you to apply on our website. Northampton right now has a free application fee, so you can go ahead and fill out the application. Most schools at this point are accepting applications for spring and fall of 2021. And once you fill out the application, somebody from admissions will contact you to make sure that you're getting your transcripts to us. If you need to take placement testing, making sure you're doing your orientation. So we'll be with you every step of the way. And again, we do try to make that process as easy as possible for you. Prior to coming to Northampton, I used to work on the transfer side myself, so I'm very familiar with students starting at the community college side. So if you do have questions, I'm a good contact to have right in the admissions office. However, I do work closely with Michelle and her staff on the advising side, so I can put you in contact with her. Since you won't see her right off the bat, admissions is usually kind of that front face, that front line of an institution. But if you do have questions, please feel free to contact me. All of our contact information is on the screen. So if you're interested in coming to Northampton, but you want to go to Moravian or anywhere, you can also contact those schools as well.
Thank you so much. So one of the first things I'm going to talk about is classes. So when Megan mentions, if you are a student who wants to come to Northampton, but then maybe wants to go to Moravian or wants to go to ESU or, any school really, one of the first questions that students ask are, what classes should I take? What classes are going to transfer? And one of the first things that I can say is plan, 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 plan. And if you don't know what you want to do, that's totally fine. But if you at least have an idea of maybe where you want to go, opening up the dialogue with someone at your community college, which at Northampton, it would be myself and our staff, is talking to your advisor about what your goals are. And if you talk to your advisor and we know that a certain school doesn't accept a certain class, or they do, and there's pieces that need to go along with it, we're the gatekeepers of that information. And I can only impress upon you today to utilize us as a resource because we are here to help. And I know for me, I was a transfer student 4 times at Northampton, in and out 4 times in 4 years. And I didn't know that we had someone who did the job that I now have. And for me, it was a very intimidating process and it was very scary because I didn't know what I was doing. I was a college student. I wasn't a college advisor. So the first thing really is about planning and getting connected with that person on your campus who can help you. Now, if you're someone who has an idea of what you want to do in your 4-year degree, I would always encourage you to take the classes that are within your major, like in your full associate degree. So if you're a biology student, you'll have bio classes and math classes and chem classes and then general education courses. If you're a student who doesn't know what you want to do, I would always recommend keeping it general. So there's a degree called exploratory studies, which allows you to take courses from all different areas so that you can gain a very good understanding of what you like and what you don't like, because both of those things are really important. So keeping it general means things like English classes and math classes and humanities courses that every student is going to need. But it actually leads me into one of the statements about misconceptions. We get a lot of students that come to community colleges and they just say, I'm here for my generals. And if you know what you want to do, if you have an idea of what you want to get a degree in, sticking with only your generals may not be beneficial for you. So it's important, again, when you connect with that person, to have the conversation about what your goals are educationally, inclusive of school and major, so that that person can tell you, this is really what you need to be doing. We have a school that our students transfer to that accept all of our courses, except for these 2 fundamental science courses. So if I get a student who says, I want to go to that school and that's what I want to study, I might steer them away from just those 2 courses, but I can educate them on what else they can take. So if they didn't take anything else, they would arrive at that school with only general education and maybe miss out on all the foundational courses that they could take at a community college. There's some other, misconceptions, I think, that students feel like for whatever reason, a community college is lower level. And this is not a slap at any of my 4 years who I'm sharing the room with right now, because they are all phenomenal people who work at phenomenal institutions. But going to a community college doesn't make anyone dumb. And we've actually found that one of the top myths is that a student who goes to a community college, it's because they didn't get accepted to a 4-year school. And after close review, it was that they got accepted to a 4-year school and either didn't want to pay that amount, weren't ready to necessarily leave home, weren't sure what they wanted to major in, so they didn't want the associated cost of living on campus and having a meal plan and living away from home. Or if you're like me, you just weren't ready to leave your family and, you know, the dinner that you got to eat every night. So some of those things happen, but it really is a misconception. You know, my actual primary care physician was a student at Northampton. He paid per class. He went to East Stroudsburg University, and then he went to med school. And a lot of my students who want to go into allied health say, well, I heard that med schools don't want me to take classes at a community college. And, you know, it's our job to tell you that you will be successful if you put in the work and it comes back out to you. So not to really put a whole lot of preference on where you're going to school, especially if you're still trying to figure it out. And a lot of community colleges get classified as cheap. And I won't disagree. On the price side, it's really nice, but we don't like to use the word cheap. We like to use the word affordable. So the misconception of quality being attached to price is not always true. You can get a very good education at a community college in smaller class sizes, close to home, still be able to keep your job and keep all of that social stuff intact, but not spend a fortune doing it. So that's just a couple misconceptions. I can answer questions about other ones, but I am going to hand it over to Christian, and Christian's going to speak a little bit about transfer agreements, and I'll pop in if I need to.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much, Michelle and Megan. I really appreciate you handing this off to me. Now picture this, you've done 2 years at a community college. You go to the 4-year college that you want to go to. You're excited. You're sitting in your advisor's office and he's looking at the courses you've taken at the community college and he says, sorry, we're not going to accept half of these. You're going to have this look on your face, this expression like, why did I waste the time? Why did I waste the money in order to be able to get to this place where now I have to take half of these courses over again at my new 4-year degree or 4-year college? The articulation agreement, which is what I'd like to talk to you about today. The articulation agreement is created to attempt to prevent that from happening as much as possible. It offers a seamless transfer experience for any students that are moving from a community college onto a 4-year institution. There are a few components with that, which I'll talk about in a second, but really an articulation agreement, it's a legal agreement between a community college and a 4-year institution, just those two together, where they will look at the different requirements that a student must go through in order to get the associate's degree. And then will those requirements actually count to be able to move on toward that bachelor's degree at that 4-year university? A lot of articulation agreements take place with community colleges and 4-year universities and colleges in the same geographic area. Like for instance, Northampton Community College probably has, I'm actually not sure, so maybe a yes or no shaking of the head, articulation agreements with a lot of different universities around in Pennsylvania.
Over 100 if we count the tri-state area. So New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
It's perfect, absolutely wonderful. Over 100 different articulation agreements with these universities within the same geographic area. So you won't have to go too far away from home. But there are also articulation agreements that can take place within a specific program. For instance, culinary arts. Let's say a student wants to take a culinary arts and get an associate's by going to Northampton Community College. They will be able to do that associate's degree there. And then let's say that if there's an articulation agreement, they would be able to come to Johnson & Wales University in Rhode Island or Charlotte, North Carolina, and they'd be able to finish their bachelor's degree and know that the courses they took at the community college will all count toward that bachelor's degree. They're not going to have to take courses over again. They're not going to have to worry about, again, wasting time and money. That's always the biggest thing. So think about what your career goals are in the future and where you might want to go in the future for your 4-year program. And then think about the articulation agreements that might be in place. Talk to your advisor, especially at the community college. Talk to your advisor. There are really 4 important benefits that an articulation agreement can do. First is guaranteed admission. A lot of, let me preface that by saying all articulation agreements can be different. There isn't a template that colleges use to necessarily fill these out. These are legal agreements where advisors and professors will sit down in a room from 2 colleges and hash it out. So these aren't always identical. Make sure you talk to your advisor at the community college to get all the details. Guaranteed admission, though, is one of the biggest first benefits. A lot of colleges, they will say, we will guarantee, these four-year colleges, we will guarantee admission if you have an associate's degree from the community college, if you have taken these particular classes, or just if you've finished 2 years in general at the community college, we'll take you on. Another one of the big benefits, as I've talked about, is the courses that you need to take, not only the courses, but other requirements as well. Do you have to have a specific GPA in order to be able to transfer into that four-year college? Do you have to have an associate's degree? Do you have to have specific classes? All that is going to be hashed out ahead of time in the articulation agreement. The third is a program-to-program charge called a transfer equivalency. Every single four-year college has one. You could log on to any one of them, Johnson & Wales, any college right now, look up the transfer equivalency, and you'll be able to see, oh, I'm going to take these courses at Northampton Community College. That's fantastic. What are they going to transfer over to at Johnson & Wales? You'll be able to see, will they transfer? Will they transfer as just 3 regular credits, or will they transfer everything over because the programs are equivalent? The articulation agreement is going to figure that out ahead of time. You're not even going to have to worry about that headache. And then transfer scholarships. The articulation agreements are going to have in there these different scholarships that are going to be available to students coming directly from community college into the four-year college or university. How much money is going to be available, what the different levels are, and they're going to be able to, excuse me, they're going to be able to tell you exactly how much money you're going to be able to receive in scholarships for being a transfer student under that articulation agreement. It'll be your job to decide which articulation agreement is best for you to achieve your career goals. Again, work with your advisor at the community college, maybe get in contact with the person at that four-year university that you're looking at in the future, and contact them and see if that articulation agreement is in place, and then what the requirements are going to be, so you don't end up wasting too much time and money. That's all I have. I'm going to pass it on to Erica, who's going to talk about getting involved as a transfer student.
Great, thank you, Christian. Hi, everyone. So as Christian said, we want to talk to you about getting involved on campus and its importance. We encourage you to embrace the excitement of new opportunities when you transfer to continue your academic journey. So I get asked this question a lot. I'm sure we all do on the panel. All of our colleagues do. Is it difficult to get involved as a transfer student? And this question comes primarily from my transfers who come in as juniors. We get a lot of, most of our transfers to Moravian are from our community college partners, where they have spent 2 years establishing themselves. They have their network of friends and advisors and faculty members, and then they graduate with an associate's degree, and so they're leaving their comfort zone and on to continue their education. So I always encourage transfer students to start making connections at transfer orientation. All schools have some sort of orientation, of transfer orientation, before to kick off the beginning of the semester. So at Moravian, that's where we introduce ways to get involved. So most colleges and universities have some type of club and organizational fair at the beginning of every semester. So this would give you a great opportunity for you to browse that fair. All the clubs will be represented. You don't have to worry about tracking down to see where club meetings are. You can sign up for email communication right then and there. And hopefully, maybe you'll see some clubs that you were interested in and had joined at your previous institution. Hopefully you'll discover some new and exciting clubs that you never even thought of. So that's a great opportunity. That's a good starting place. Also, all college websites have an area under student life, usually. That's where it lives. That lists all the different clubs and organizations that you can get involved in. So really, there's something for everyone, whether you're interested in academic clubs, honor societies, athletics, intramural activities, music ensembles, choir, band, the list goes on, volunteer opportunities, the list goes on. So, you'll learn and grow from being a part of these organizations, and you also get to relax and hang out with friends. So that's a good thing. In addition, most schools, all schools, will offer some recreational activities, movies, comedians, karaoke night, fall festival. Most of us just had a fall festival recently, pumpkin carving, fun things to get involved in it. And it helps you embrace the spirit of campus communities. So another great way to get involved is study groups, peer study groups. So establish those. That's a great way. And you can help each other study for those exams and projects too. At Moravian and most schools, there's a lot of projects involved that you will be partnered or in a small group. So that's another great way to get involved. Or how about inviting one of your favorite professors or some of your professors for a cup of coffee at the student union or some hot chocolate, or maybe your transfer counselor too. We want you to be not only successful, but even more importantly, we want you to be happy. And we want to hear your stories, and we want to celebrate you with you, and we want to hear what you're doing. We live through you. All right. So I want to share a story with you. One of my all-time favorite transfer students, Angelo, who transferred from Northampton Community College. Thank you, Michelle. Megan, you weren't working at Northampton yet when Angelo transferred in. I think it was fall 2014, maybe Michelle remembers, but he was very excited to get involved on campus because he was very involved at Northampton Community College. So he became our USG, that's our United Student Government president, which I think is really neat. And then when he graduated, he was our student graduation speaker, which is quite an honor at Moravian. So I think that speaks volumes and is a testament that transfers most definitely have equal opportunities to get involved and hold leadership roles as well. So you make your college experience what you want it to be. I know that's an overused statement, but it is true. You are in control. So take advantage of all the opportunities in your schools and universities, which will enhance your educational experience and make you feel like you're part of the fabric of that campus community. So best wishes to you all. And I'm going to pass this over to Jim, who's going to talk about some do's and don'ts for transferring.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Garraway, Assistant Director of Admissions here at Kutztown. Work with a ton of transfer students. Work with Michelle and her team exclusively at Northampton. And many times I've been over there and been working with those students. Want to go over some do's and don'ts in the process. Some of the things that were already covered. Just kind of go through some real basic things here. But if you're at your current school, don't forget to apply for graduation. I see that so many times. Students, they get like 60, 70 credits at a community college, and they should have their associate's degree, and they just don't apply for graduation. And when I call them on it, because we give incentives for people that have their associate's degrees here at Kutztown, is actually pretty nice housing scholarship we do. And we also do a book award here for that, for having your associate's degrees. So please don't forget to not apply for that. It's not done for you automatically like your high school graduation was. You have to apply for that at your current school. So make sure you do that. So when you go to transfer, if there's incentives at your transfer school for having your associate's degree like we do, you would be given those incentives and those scholarships. And also don't forget to cancel your financial aid at your current school, and make sure when you're looking for your next school that you can go into the FAFSA and list up to 10 schools in there that you're considering. That way, when you get accepted at your other schools for your next step, your financial aid process can already be starting. They could pull your financial aid record from the FAFSA, and they can already be starting to package you and give you ideas as to how much financial aid you're going to get. And don't forget to apply for the FAFSA. I have so many students that come from community college, for example, and may have paid out of pocket, but then they don't think that to apply for the FAFSA. And there may be some free money that they qualify for at the four-year school that they might not have qualified for at the community college because of the price being different. So please make sure you apply for the FAFSA because you never know what you may gain in terms of your financial aid. It was touched on about orientation. I see this so many times where I'm at here at Kutztown. Students, it is required for them to come, and we really encourage them to come, but sometimes they just don't show up, or they come later in the process and they miss the orientation. Don't do that. Try to always get to your orientation at your next step. There's so many key things that you're going to learn in that. And at Kutztown, that's where we advise you and give your classes. So it's really important that you participate and come to orientation at your next step. And then also tied in with that is don't self-advise. And that goes whether you stay at the community college for a little longer yet, or you're getting ready to come to a place like we have to offer here at Kutztown. Always work with your advisor to get approval on your courses. I know you guys all have a good understanding of where you're at with your checklist of your classes and things like that, but you always want to go back and have that blessing of the advisor of your schedule. You don't want to be at graduation at either institution or apply for graduation at either institution and find out you're 6 credits short of graduation. Now you told your family that, mom and dad are all excited that you're going to graduate, but only to find out that you got to go back and do a whole nother semester somewhere, pick another class or another 6 credits up. I had a personal story of a friend of mine whose son actually did that. Went to a school in Chicago, and his parents were from Pennsylvania. He said, "Oh, I'm going to graduate. I'm all excited. Mom and dad are all excited. They got a hotel in Chicago and everything to go see their son graduate." Here he missed. He didn't take 2 classes that he was supposed to take, and he didn't graduate. He had to go back a whole nother semester. So there was another cost involved in that too. So don't self-advise. We already talked about getting involved. Don't forget to get involved, especially if you're a commuter. You are a member of the next, when you come on to our campus or any other 4-year campus, you're a member of that campus community, whether you're a resident or a commuter. So get involved, get out there. This is how you have your fun, enjoy your college experience and build your resume, whether you're getting involved in clubs, organizations, activities that show leadership, involvement, all those things. Remember to get involved. And also don't overlook campus employment. That's how I started in admissions. I started off as a student tour guide, as a transfer student at my previous institution where I worked while I was going to school. That's how I got involved in being in this career. So you never know where those campus jobs may lead for you. And it's also a way for you to work with a little bit more flexibility. Folks on campus are a little bit more understanding if you have 10 papers to do and you need to miss a shift for some reason. You can't do it all the time. But nonetheless, folks are a little bit more understanding if you have a campus job and you need to step out for some reason. So those are some of the don'ts. Already talked about the relationship with your advisor, investigating the requirements for your program. I often hear from students or often see students, like I'll use an example of our education program here where I work. There's a bunch of courses that you need to have completed in order to get into that once you hit a certain credit amount. Oftentimes a student will forget one class, they just never took it, or there's also a test for the education program here. They may have forgotten to take the test or just didn't know they have to take that test. So definitely get the requirements for the programs that you're interested in, get to know what they are and those key courses that you have to complete. And then one of the big things I see coming from different schools into the transfer process is students sometimes forgetting to send all transcripts for where they studied previously. And that could be even college and high school courses. Like go back a few years and you took a college and a high school course maybe at Northampton or one of our other local schools or Lehigh Carbon or RAC, and you have some credits there and you don't send that transcript. So there's no way for us to know that you have done that work, and you wind up taking the course again, and you're just wasting time and money when you do that. So if you went somewhere else or you went somewhere else, you definitely want to send those transcripts. Sometimes people go away and for whatever reason it didn't work out and they didn't do so well. Now they come back and they're at a community college, for example, and they're doing very great. they may forget or say, well, I'm not going to send that transcript from that place I went to, a couple years ago. You've got to send all transcripts. That's part of the process. And then also, let's see, I have one or two more things. Look for the application fee waivers. A lot of us offer them as incentives for you to come to us. And also scholarships. Look at scholarships that are local too. A lot of times in your own local community, there are scholarships that are overlooked with churches, civic organizations, and things like that, that you can utilize that maybe people that are just getting out of high school don't even apply for. So you can always go back and look and see in your own community what scholarships may be there, free money for you to apply to, and take advantage of that. I always tell my transfers to do that. And that's about it for my presentation. And I'll turn it over to Michelle next, and she can add additional do's and don'ts.
I think I'm good on the do's and don'ts, but I wanted to see if anyone who was watching the presentation had any additional questions. We had one come in, and I know we don't have a whole lot of time left, so I want to make sure if you have questions that we get them answered. I will answer one that we got. So the question that we had was if a student was interested in going to Northampton for 2 years for criminal justice and then transferring to East Stroudsburg University to finish up the bachelor's degree, is there anything specific? And as Christian talked about, the importance of articulation agreements comes into play here. Northampton does have an articulation agreement that covers criminal justice with East Stroudsburg University. So this is one that, because this is an associate of applied science, it doesn't fit under the state model of agreements, but we have a separate one. So going through the criminal justice program at Northampton, making sure that you get a C or better in all courses and that you actually finish the program. And like Jim said, you apply for graduation and you make sure that you graduate. You are able to take advantage of the different opportunities associated with the agreement. And that means that you're not losing any credits in transfer because you're protected by that agreement. You would want to touch base with myself in the advising office once you were within your last year, and we could talk about time frame for applications, paperwork, and all the other good stuff that comes with being a transfer. But it's less than when you apply as a freshman, which is good. So if anybody else has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Okay, we just got one in. Are international students eligible for transfer, and what are the requirements? So if everybody's okay with it, I'll just answer it because I ended up moderating this question. So yes, international students are eligible for transfer. The biggest thing is that depending on your status as an international student, you may not be eligible for federal funding as far as financial aid goes, but as far as transfer things go, you are eligible just like any other student. You do a different application because an international application does have some documentation and additional pieces, but the requirements go from school to school. The requirements from an academic perspective don't change because you're an international student, with the exception of the English language piece. So some schools will allow you, as long as you've taken college level English, either 1 or 1 and 2, to transfer. Others will require that you have a TOEFL test, and that is dependent based on the school. So I can't give you a blanket answer, unfortunately, that would include all schools. But the requirements, what would be your best option is to talk to your advisor at your community college and talk about, I'm an international student, what do I need to do for these specific schools? And if you're not sure in the school perspective, advisors can always help you do some research and give you some tools to get to the point where you know what school you want to go to.
And if I could also touch on that real quick, a school like Northampton, where Michelle's at, has housing on campus, and they have a strong international group there. So it's a great way for international students to come over, get acclimated, take some, maybe if they need to work on their English language skills, they could take some ESL classes in addition to some regular courses at Northampton, and then later on transfer. We do have some strong agreements between us and Northampton for international students coming to a place like Kutztown or any other school in the Valley for that matter.
All right, I think we're coming down to the wire here, so I just want to thank everybody for showing up today. We really hope you got some good information out of this. Transfer students, we love them. You guys are successful. And just know at the end of the day, when you graduate from your 4-year school, it's not going to say, hey, you went to community college first and then here. It's going to say you graduated from Kutztown. It's going to say you graduated from Moravian, and we're going to make sure that we get you to reach your goals. So thanks. And with that, I think that's all we have for you.
Yes, that was amazing. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to go ahead and do the official session wrap up briefly for everybody. So, of course, a huge thank you for joining us. It was great to have our really, really knowledgeable panelists here today, as well as our students with their great questions. So thank you. And when you close this window, there's going to be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We do really appreciate any feedback that you can provide. As I said at the beginning, this is one of our many sessions being hosted. We'd love to see you back for any additional sessions. So please feel free to sign up at pacac.org. And in about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recordings, as well as all of our other session recordings. Same website, pacac.org. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.